What's up, guys? It's Luke Beller with the Sideline Scoop, and today I thought we would break down the Davante Adams versus Jalen Ramsey matchup coming up on Saturday, which now is only 2 days away. Pretty crazy. It's coming up pretty quickly, and lots of you guys were, requesting that when I asked you guys, sort of what you wanted to see this week. And I touched on it a little bit in my prediction video for the Packers versus the Rams, but I decided I would dedicate an entire video to it and sort of break down just how good Davante Adams has been this year, break down Jalen Ramsey as well, and sort of how I think we can get, Davante Adams involved and sort of get him producing in this game. And when we take a look at Davante Adams' stats from, 2018 through 2020, he's been one of the most dominant wide receivers in the NFL. So we take a look at some stats right here. He's been averaging 7.6 receptions per game, which is second in the NFL. He's been averaging 94.3 yards per game, which is also second in the NFL. And he's been averaging 0.88 touchdowns per game, which is first in the NFL. So the past 3 seasons, he's been dominating. And the crazy thing to really look back on is that the fact back in 2014, when he was drafted by the Packers, there were 8 other receivers who were taken ahead of Davante Adams. And I'll list these receivers real quick so you can see, other guys who were picked instead of Davante. So Sammy Watkins was picked, Mike Evans, Odell Beckham, Brandon Cooks, Kelvin Benjamin, Marquise Lee, Jordan Matthews, and Paul Richardson. So obviously there's some guys in there who you'd, think now, like, why would a team pick someone like Jordan Matthews or Paul Richardson over Davante Adams? And obviously, in hindsight, it's a lot easier to make these kind of decisions, and teams probably didn't have, as good an idea of just how good Davante Adams would be. Partly, he only got 2 scholarship offers out of high school, that's what I read, and he also went to Fresno State, which wasn't, one of the biggest schools, and so teams sort of maybe overlooked just how good he was in college because they thought potentially he was facing off against weaker teams. But now we see that teams should not have been underrating Davante Adams. He's proved in the past few seasons that he is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And I think one of the great things for Davante Adams is when he came in 2014, he didn't have to come in and immediately be, the number one guy. He had time to develop. Jordy Nelson was there, Randall Cobb was there, so he got to learn from these guys. He got to learn from Jordy Nelson and sort of the way that he sort of, communicated with Aaron Rodgers and sort of pick up on some of those things, which has led and developed Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams' relationship as well, and sort of made them, one of the best wide receiver quarterback duos in the NFL. And then if we look at Davante Adams' stats for this season, just crazy stats, while missing 2.5 games. 115 receptions, 1,374 yards, 11.9 yards per reception, and 18 touchdowns. And he led the NFL with 98.1 yards per game and 18 touchdowns. So this season, Davante Adams dominated, and Aaron Rodgers had a 136 rating when targeting him. So obviously, Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, one of the best quarterback wide receiver duos in the NFL. And the question now is he going to be able to put up these kind of numbers against, arguably the best cornerback in football? So we got Jalen Ramsey, who comes over to this Rams team back in 2019. The Rams decided to trade 2 first-round picks and a 4th-round pick for Jalen Ramsey, which now looks like a pretty good decision. Maybe at the time people were like, why would you give up 2 first-round picks? But obviously it's paid off to have Jalen Ramsey, leading to the Rams being probably the best defense in the NFL. And so when we take a look at sort of who Jalen Ramsey has faced this season and basically what he has done and sort of the production that he has allowed, he's been very good against very, very good wide receivers. I have a tweet here that I saw from Kevin Patra, I don't know how to say his name. But as you can see here, it sort of shows the guys he's faced up against and sort of what he allowed them to do. So you can see Amari Cooper, week 1, 7 receptions, 57 yards. That was probably one of Ramsey's worst games. Stephon Diggs, only 1 reception, 4 yards. You can sort of read all these guys. DK Metcalf last week, only 3 receptions, 33 yards. And so that begs the question, is Jalen Ramsey going to be able to keep this up against Davante Adams? And one thing that I sort of think when looking at these guys is, of course, Jalen Ramsey did do a good job of containing these guys, but these guys still did well at times, especially if you look at last week. Metcalf still finished with 5 receptions, 96 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So even though Ramsey may shut some of these guys down, they've still produced a little bit more outside of, Ramsey guarding them, because obviously at times Ramsey's not going to be able to be matched up with a top guy on every single play. And so with Davante Adams facing off against Jalen Ramsey, you'd have to assume there's going to be times where he's not facing off against Jalen Ramsey. We have a quote here from Aaron Rodgers. He said, "The Rams have a dynamic player in Jalen, but they have been playing a lot more two-shell, so I don't know how much mano-a-mano is going to be out there. I'm sure there's going to be some opportunities, and he is super talented." And as you guys know, I'm not some like expert. I'm not some film guru. I don't really understand formations, at an expert level. So, for those of you guys who do understand all the kind of stuff, I'd be curious to hear your guys' thoughts sort of on this entire situation. But from what I've sort of read about, it seems the Packers, moved Davante Adams around the entire field in the slot out wide. But Jalen Ramsey seems to only follow the wide receivers on the perimeter, so he doesn't really play as much in the slot. That's sort of what I read. And correct me if I'm wrong down below. I'm honestly curious to sort of see what you guys have to say as well. Because honestly, lots of times you guys leave things that I, don't even know as well. I'm just a Packers fan who likes to read, research, do all that kind of stuff. So I don't know everything, and that's definitely true. I don't know everything. So I'd be curious to hear your guys' thoughts. But it seems that Davante Adams is going to still get some opportunities in this game just because it's likely Ramsey won't be on him on every single play. There's going to be times, just like Metcalf still scored 2 touchdowns against that Rams team, even though Jalen Ramsey shut him down, majority of the game. So I expect Davante Adams to still produce in this game. Maybe it won't be as much as, we've usually seen from him because Ramsey's a very talented player. It's going to be a lot harder for Davante Adams to beat Jalen Ramsey. But I still think with the talent that Davante Adams has, his ability to break away from receivers, his route running ability, I still think he could, beat Jalen Ramsey on some plays. So honestly, it's going to be a really, really good matchup between both of these guys. And I think one other question some people may have is, what happens if the Rams defense is able to completely shut down Davante Adams? So I was reading this article from Acme Packing Company. They got lots of good articles on there. Lots of good Packers information. And in an article I have right here, this is what it said. It says, Adams has recorded fewer than 100 receiving yards in just 3 of the Packers' last 7 games, Week 12 and Week 17 against the Bears, and Week 15's win over the Panthers. But the Packers rushed for 182 yards in Week 12 and 195 in Week 15, and they got over 120 yards and 2 touchdowns from those key secondary weapons in Week 17. And so if the Rams are able to contain Davante Adams, I think guys like Allen Lazard, Marcus Valdes-Scantling, Robert Tonyan, that those guys could come up and have big games as we've sort of seen them do a couple of times this season when Davante Adams wasn't quite as dominant. I expect that to sort of happen. And also our running attack in a cold game, potentially snowy. Some people were sending me some weather reports, and it looks like it could potentially be snowing in that game. So I just think that if Davante Adams is shut down, we have so many other playmakers who are going to be able to get the job done. And then one other thing looking at the running game, an interesting thing to look at is the 49ers actually beat the Rams twice this year. And in both games, they ran for over 100 yards. And so potentially, maybe this could be a game where the Packers come in and run the ball. I mean, the 49ers were only 16th in yards per attempt, averaging 4.3 yards per carry. Well, the Packers are 6th, averaging 4.8 yards a carry. So it looks like the Packers, running attack is a lot better than the 49ers attack. And so potentially, with the 49ers being able to beat them twice this year, running for over 100 yards 2 different times, maybe that could be another area, where the Packers could come in and beat up the Rams. Obviously, Aaron Donald being in there makes it a lot harder to run. But he is injured. He suffered some torn cartilage injuries, and I sort of talked about that in yesterday's video. And I also asked you guys if you guys had any, medical opinions on the situation because he suffered torn cartilage. I didn't know much about it, and luckily you guys commented a lot about sort of what you guys think about that. And so here's sort of some thoughts from you guys. Colton said, my mom's a nurse. She says that's not good. She doesn't think he'll make it the whole game. So we'll have to take his word for it that his mom actually is a nurse. We don't really know. But it seems that she doesn't think he'll be able to play the game. So that's some interesting insights. Then we got Landon said, torn cartilage in the ribs is usually very painful. Sharp pain typically occurs immediately at the site of the tear. Ongoing pain may persist for weeks to months. Depending on the severity of the injury, your doctor may recommend an over-the-counter prescription or pain reliever to reduce your discomfort. So thank you, Landon. Thank you for doing that little research for us. And then the last one here I'm going to show, we got The Bite and Fight. Nice name. He said, got the same injury right now. Hurts to lift your arm above your head. So from all that I'm reading from you guys, it seems that torn cartilage is suffering, or rib torn cartilage, whatever that is a pretty serious injury. The Rams will probably give him something to numb it. But personally, I do still think Aaron Donald will play, even if he is in pain. But who knows? We'll end up seeing if he does play, if he doesn't play. But I'm guessing they're going to give him tons of stuff to sort of enable him to play in this game. We'll have to see if he can perform at a very high level. So those are my main thoughts on the Jalen Ramsey versus Davante Adams situation. As always, I'd be curious to hear your guys' thoughts down below because you guys have, lots of valuable information to share. But if you guys have yet to subscribe to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe. I'll be putting out some more Packers stuff. As always, make sure you guys like the video as well, and I'll see you guys on the next one.